Good afternoon. Thank you so much for catching the replay of 31 Days to Love Your Lettering. This is day 15, which is mixing fine pen and calligraphy pen to get a more whimsical or fun look to your calligraphy. Good afternoon and happy St. Patty's Day. Hello guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm getting my desk set up. I had to make sure that I had all the right pens on here. Good afternoon, Alicia. So I'll give you guys just a minute while I get my pens all situated and my books in front of me. Hope you're having a great day. It doesn't look very nice out here. Usually I like a nice sunny St. Patty's Day with blue sky and the daffodils popping up, but it is very gray outside right now. But I do have my first of two corned beefs in the Instant Pot. So that'll be good, and the children want some Irish soda bread, so I'm going to have to get on that too. Hello, thank you for joining. We're going to get started real soon. For those of you that might be here for the first time, my 2:30 broadcast is a little more formal, so in about a couple minutes I'm going to do the formal yeah, I'm getting congested. It's weird. But it's probably because the little one has been sleeping with me since she's been sick. Thank you. This is my green for today. I figured it counted. Since I wore my green shirt yesterday, my children reminded me that I was a day early on that. So a green scarf it is, so I don't get pinched. Sorry, bear with me. I am getting definitely a little bit of a head cold. Not fun, but anyway. So the afternoon sessions are a little bit more straightforward as far as the demonstration goes. So I'm going to get started in just a minute here. I will do a formal introduction, and then I'll go straight into demonstrating the technique that I'm talking about. I will not answer questions during that demonstration portion, but as soon as it's over with, then I will open it up to questions and answers at the end. If you prefer the more live interaction and questions and answers while I'm doing the demonstration, I broadcast again at 9:30 p.m. It'll be the same demo, but it'll just be a little more chatty. We have a little more chatting fun there. But so the afternoon is great for those that have just a short amount of time and want to see the technique. But if you want to chat more, you can stick around after the demo and we'll do some questions and answers, or hop on the 9:30 p.m. if that works for you, both Eastern time. And we'll get a little chatty. So with all that said, I will begin today's session. Thank you so much for joining me for Love Your Lettering, 31 Days to Love Your Lettering. My name is Lisa. I blog at CreativLEI.com, which is looking at life creatively. We are on day 15 of 31 days. We are halfway through. Woohoo! We are still working with our calligraphy pen, and today we are going to combine the calligraphy marker or pen with the fine point pen to just try some little fun techniques. So with that said, I'm going to flip around the camera and get started showing you what we're going to work on today. Okay, so here was the sample if you've already looked at the blog post for this lesson, and there was another example. So we're just going to have a little fun today. I'm not going to write out full alphabets. I'm going to write out words, and we'll talk about some different techniques for embellishing with the calligraphy pen and the fine point pen. If you are new to one of these videos or broadcasts, you may want to find more information about this series. You can go to CreativLEI.com/loveyourlettering. We'll give you all the information and where to find suggested supplies and the full index of the series. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm CreativLEI on those places, and you can send me a message if I've not answered one of your questions through the demo. You can find me on Pinterest at CreativLEIMade. I do keep a lettering and penmanship board, as well as a board where I collect quotes and quips and things for practicing my lettering. And any videos that you may have missed, you will find on catch.me/creatively. So let's begin. I'm going to flip to a clean page in my book. I'm getting further down the book now. We are halfway at that halfway point. And apparently I'm a little more than halfway through. Okay. So we're going to start with a calligraphy pen. I am using the Pigma Calligrapher by Sakura, and this is the 3mm. And then for the fine point pen, I'm going to use the Zig Millennium 08. So what we're going to do is kind of mix, we'll go between our print with the calligraphy pen and italic calligraphy, but we're going to use the fine point pen to add some fun details. So let's try, I will show you, okay. We'll take, I'm going to write with the nib at a 45-degree angle, and over the past couple days we've talked about 2 different ways that you can hold the calligraphy pen. One would be to keep that nib at about a 45-degree angle from your baseline, and that's going to be what you use for your italic letters and things like that. And you'll focus on moving your hand instead of shifting your fingers when you make that stroke. The other way to hold the pen would be to hold it parallel to the baseline. That way you would have very broad vertical strokes and very thin horizontal strokes. So I'll do a little bit of both today. So we'll start with hello. So one way to do some fun is to leave kind of a blank space. So I'm going to write my letters, and right now I'm holding the pen straight. Oops, I went a little bit lower than I planned on there. So let's make those 2 kind of match up. And the idea is to leave that hole in about the same place on each letter. Okay, so now I'm going to go back in with my fine point pen, and I'm going to make a zigzag to connect that top and the bottom portion. We'll zoom a little bit. So it's kind of just a fun, almost like static in there. So another way to add some fun by mixing the 2 pens, if you remember our faux calligraphy, we started with fine pen and then we drew that second line that would be the downstrokes. Well, we can do that going a little bit faster by mixing the fine pen and the calligraphy pen. So I'm going to draw out hello. Okay. And now, instead of drawing that second line, I'm going to use my calligraphy pen to make those bold downstrokes. So it's like another form of cheater calligraphy. And if you need to go back over to meet that line, so that ends up being quite a bit faster than drawing that second line and coloring it in. And if you get a little gap there, you can go back over and smooth that in. Okay, so there's another technique of the 2 pens together. Now we can get a little fancy by adding some other strokes in. So I'm going to write out the word fancy in italic calligraphy. So I've got my capital F. Okay, so now I'll use a fine point pen to go back in and add so on the kind of outside of each letter, I'm adding a fine line and a dot in there. Oops. You can do that on all the downstrokes if you'd like, unless you feel it looks too busy. And this, playing like this kind of just takes a little bit of using your eye to see what you find pleasing. Okay. Another example would be to, I'm going to write try mixing it all up, and what I'm going to do is the calligraphy for mixing. Okay, I'll dot those eyes, and now I'm going to go ahead and put in print over here, and I'm going to create the rest of that descender with the fine point pen, and you can add little dots and dashes and stuff to add to the fun of it. Okay, so this is where we start to kind of go into creative lettering a little bit more, because we're taking just the regular alphabet and then doing little things that add a bit of flair and stuff. So let's do that sample of crazy, because that was a fun one. Okay, so I'm going to use my 2.0 for the first bit of it, and I'm going to work in italic, but kind of a squished italic. So my T's don't go quite as high as the L's do on the ascender, sorry. And I'll use one tittle to cross both of those. Or I'm sorry, dropped. Okay, now for crazy, I'm going to go and switch to the 5mm, which is nice and big. And I'm going to write, and this is kind of a squeaky one. So this is more of a print. Kind of borrowing from my whimsical lettering. Okay, so now what I did on the sample from here, I went and now where I would sometimes add serifs in some of the other styles we played with, I'm going to go ahead and add those serifs at an angle, so it's the angle that the pen was writing at. So I can double them. I'm going to bring in a swirl on that A. And then I'm going to bring this up into a spiral too. I'm going to go back over that Y because I think that kind of went a little too gray. Okay. Alright, so another thing I can do is add that line to the Z, and I'll add some fun to this C right here. And kind of play with it and try to think of different different ways you can add some fun with swirls and lines and things like that. And this is kind of getting outside the box of your standard calligraphy and kind of blending what we talked about with whimsical lettering. So even if you want to just go back to switching up the bowl heights and things like that, you can certainly do that with here. So where I would normally go 3 boxes high for my lowercase, I may keep it 2 boxes high, but keep that same height. I'm going to keep the B lower so that I don't go into the tail of here. So similarly to how we got whimsical by changing the bowl sizes and we added some fun to a regular print, we can do that with the calligraphy pen as well. Or again, using it for more of a print type writing than the standard italic. Doing things like this, when you leave that gap, you can certainly fill those. Let's do another one of the gap alphabet. So here I'll do it on both sides. Okay, and let's fill it this time with a little spiral. So, let's get that so that you can see it. So it almost looks like a rosette in the letter. Okay, so you can really kind of have fun and try things out. This is really just trying new things and having a little bit of fun. Now that you've learned some of the basic ways to use a calligraphy pen, now you're looking for a little outside the box ways to use the calligraphy pen. So this is kind of a short demonstration, but if you have questions, I would love to answer your questions or re-demonstrate something if you need to see it a second time. Now, last night, the ladies that were on with me we were on for quite a long time, and one of the pens that I talked to them about was the Pilot Parallel pen, and I think I've mentioned it during the afternoon also. And one of the fun things about the Parallel pen is that it writes on, because those plates are parallel, the ink flows regardless of what direction you're using it in. So, this crazy word, I could have done that all with this pen, because even on the tip of the pen, the ink still flows. So if you have appreciated the calligraphy a lot and are looking to add a different type of pen to your collection, but you're not sure if you want to get into dip calligraphy, the parallel pens are a nice compromise between those. What size pen would be best to start with? I definitely think the 3.0 or 3 millimeter is, you're welcome, Elisa. The 3 millimeter is quite nice. This is a 3.8. It's a little on the biggish side. Doesn't have, you went to 3 stores. Did you try Hobby Lobby? I know I've gotten it locally at Hobby Lobby, but then also on Amazon as well. I know that Michaels and Joann do not carry it in store. Amazon is definitely the best price. Sorry. Been looking at them today. Yeah, it's a good one to keep on your wish list because they are often on Prime, so it's a good one if you wanted to slowly add. Jet pens should have it as well. Michaels? I didn't think that Michaels had it. Yeah. Oh, you have a local Dick Blick? That's lucky. I just have online. So, was there anything that you guys wanted to see again? I know this was a rather short demonstration because it's really kind of just adding to what we've done previously. So, and tomorrow we'll go further into the different flourishes, both with the fine point and the calligraphy pen itself, when to use a flourish and what are some of the ways to flourish. Pardon me. I love your handle. I color in my Bible. Yes, we'll talk flourishes. Here's the sample page from me. So sorry. Here's the sample page from tomorrow. So we've got kind of typical calligraphy flourishes, and then also flourishes with the fine point pen. You pipe them onto cakes every week. Yeah. It's funny how all of these disciplines go together. So they've got a flourish on the S, on the ascenders, of course the descenders. Oh, awesome. So you're adding some to the descenders on the capital letters as well. And that was from my extra weekend practice, just kind of like the copper plate flourishes. So that's what we'll talk about tomorrow, is more on the flourishes. Yes, I can do them with the parallel pen. I cannot do them with the markers because it's not fine enough on the edge, and with the felt tip markers, if you use it on its edge, you're going to mess that broad nib up, so I definitely don't recommend that. You would be much better off doing the flourishes with the fine point pen. I'm sorry that the connection seems to be not great, and we've reset our modem a bunch of times recently, and I've reset my phone and checked the storage and stuff like that, but it seems to be that we might just have too many devices in our house for our connection. So, but later this spring we're anticipating getting an amplifier for our connection, so hopefully that will help. And we actually don't know who we're going with for internet service in the new house, so it might be a little hairy for a couple weeks as we settle in to the new place. Did anybody have any other questions from today or this week's topics? Because I know the calligraphy pen is tricky when you're first getting used to it, because it does take a lot of effort to keep that the angle of that nib very consistent, because we kind of want to twist it and use our hand the way we do with just a regular ballpoint pen or pencil, and it doesn't always work with the calligraphy pen. So if no one else has any questions, I'm going to head off, and I should be on tonight. How's the packing going? Yes, next week. Thank you for reminding me. I knew I needed to do that. You're so welcome. I really enjoy this series and getting to demonstrate it again. So next week we're going to talk about brush lettering, or starting to brush letter. And the first thing we'll start with is a pencil on Monday. So all you need on Monday is a pencil. And then for the rest of the week, I'll be using the Tombow Fudenosuke pen. Sorry, I'll hold them this way. That would be better for you, I'm assuming. So the blue barrel is the hard tip. The black one is the soft tip, and then the gray barrel is black and gray soft tip. The Stampin' Up! Pen, if I'm correct in assuming that they've not changed their pens greatly, it would be very similar to the Tombow Dual Brush, which is quite a big brush nib, and it reacts a little bit differently than the Fudenosukes do. For the very beginning of brush lettering, I find that the Fudenosukes are a little bit easier to handle because you can work closer to your natural handwriting size, where with the brush pens, the dual brush pens, you need to work a little larger. Let me grab one of the dual brush to show you. Tombos get all three. Amazon, let me see, I just was on there before. Amazon has a 2-pack of one hard and one soft tip of the food pens, and they are $6.40 for the 2-pack, and that is on Amazon Prime. So that is really good. I have this one just because I like having the extra gray too. The brush info is up on the blog, and I do link to the dual pack of the Tombos. So someone with the one that was the sorry, person that was okay, $2.50 on jet pens, and I think if you place an order of 25 or more on jet pens, then you get free shipping. So, and I've gotten lots of pens from there. They're very reliable and ship fairly quickly. Those of you that were talking about other brush pens, this is the Tombow Dual Brush. So it is a felt tip brush pen. And, okay, now this one is a little worn out because I use my Fudenosuke pens all the time. What page has those links? Let me pull it up for you. I'm sorry. I usually try and keep the index page on. Yes, I don't go on there often because I'll go on there and say like, well, I have to spend this $25 so I get the free shipping. But I can never keep it right at 25 because then I see all sorts of cool things that I like. So I try to avoid it and not go there too often. Okay, I'm looking at the preparing for brush lettering. So if you look at, yeah, it's bad. I'm a pen snob, pen collector, pen hoarder, addict, whatever you want to call it. I have a lot of pens. But for reasons. Okay, so you can see that these are quite different. So this one ends up, this is the Fudenosuke soft tip, and this one ends up writing yay, very close in size to your natural handwriting. So learning the brush lettering, I find that this is an easier one to make that transition. This one, if you're a lefty, this is going to be difficult. It is not my favorite for lettering because the reaction time, because of that big brush, is quite a bit different. There is quite a learning curve because I have to greatly change the position of my hand to get the hairlines with the tip of this because as a lefty I'm pushing the pen instead of pulling it. So a right-handed person would get that hairline by releasing the pressure a little bit, where I have to release the pressure but change the angle of it as well. So for just starting brush lettering, if you're a lefty, this would not be the one that I would choose first. I would go straight to the Fudenosuke pens because they're a little more forgiving. And I do have, I thought I had a link to the brushes on the page. I'm going to add that because that should be there. It might be on the preparing page, but sorry, that's kind of a tangent. Yes, they're all linked. I do have the whole index of all the different pens that I've used in this series, and there's a couple of those. Okay, if you go to the day 19, which is preparing to do brush lettering, on that page is a link to the 2-pack of the soft tip and the hard tip, and once you get to Amazon, the related products, if you wanted to just get one to start with, you can find that way. But definitely these are two that I use often. I have multiples of each of them because I use it so often. Those that have struggled with trying to do brush lettering with the bigger brush find that it's a little bit easier to make the transition with the Fudenosuke pens. Sorry. So with all that said, if no one else has any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and head off so I can get some water and not be coughing on Periscope because that's not nice. And yes, someone was asking about my packing, and I'm not packing. I have a lot of boxes, but they're not packed. I know. I wish they would make them in colors also. Do you hear us, Tombow? Tombow USA, we love you and we want the Fudenosuke pens in color. So maybe if we just are really, really nice to them and ask them frequently, they'll start working on that. I haven't heard, but you guys know, for those of you that don't know, I am a Tombow brand ambassador. I don't get paid to promote them, so it's not that, but because I use their products often and share about them, each month they send me a product or two to sample to be able to share with you guys and let you know what my feedback is for them. So I do have the privilege of getting to try out some things, but I'll tell you, my stash of Tombow is pretty big before they invited me, so it's all good, and I have good faith in their products. The quality is quite good, and as a lefty person, you know I'm very, very picky about my pens. So, but if they would make the Fudenosuke in color, I would be so very happy. So, you hear us, Tombow, we want color. So, yes, a link. Go to, here, let me see. All right, if you go to this one, let me see, I'm going to try and make this as easy as possible because there's a lot of the letterings, a lot of the lettering posts. I want to say I have another link, but let me get that for you. Let me find it. Sorry, I usually have some of these open before I start, but of course everything wants to go slow. Fudenosuke and the breath. Yes, I will show you that in just a minute. Okay, so if you go to Love Your Lettering Supplies, you will get to the post that has all the recommended things that I use throughout the series. Please do not feel obligated to get everything that's on that list. I just wanted to give you guys kind of an exhaustive list of what products you can use. And throughout the series, I talk about the ones that I'm using while I demonstrate and things like that. And so this is the Fudenosuke. So we've got the black barrel again is the soft tip, and the blue barrel is the hard tip. And this is the Tombow dual brush. You want me to spell Fudenosuke? Let's see if I get it right. Okay. Okay. All right. So this was the blue, that was the hard tip. So here's soft tip comparison. So I'm going to flip to another page for a minute. Okay. Sorry. All right. So let's see. I'm going to use these with my left hand because that's my hand. The 3.0. Oh, that was the Pigma Calligrapher. Yeah, if you type Tombow Food, F-U-D-E, you'll get it. Okay. So now, this is the Fudenosuke soft tip. So it's a nylon brush, and actually it doesn't have a size. It's just the food, and it doesn't come in a size. They come in soft and hard tip. So it's just really flexible, and it returns back to shape quite easily. So now here is the Tombow dual brush, which is a felt tip pen. And now here's how I have to, you'll see I'll change my hand positions quite a bit. So to get that upstroke, I have to really trace it and then come down. And my tip is pretty beaten up because I'm lefty and I push the pen, which the pen doesn't want to be pushed. So quite a bit bigger. I can't work as smoothly with the dual brush as I can with the Fudenosuke. So now if you're right-handed, you're kind of working at a slightly better advantage. So again, I'm not right-handed, so extend grace. This is not smooth. But because you're pulling the pen, it's a more natural release and exert of pressure, where for those of us that are pushing the pen, we really need to change our hand position quite a bit. So there's that. But there are lefties who use the Tombow dual brush beautifully. Ren-made Calligraphy? Oh goodness, I don't remember, but Lauren, I think it's Ren-made Calligraphy, is a Tombow design team member, and she is lefty, and she uses the brush pens all the time beautifully. They are just not my chosen default medium. I prefer the Fudenosuke pens. I find that they're quite a bit more forgiving for us lefties. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and head off. And the Fude dual tip is felt tip and not the best. It has its purposes. It's a much bigger brush, so if you're working on big lettering, you're probably going to want, and if you want other colors, you're going to want the dual brush pens. But when you're first learning brush lettering, the Fudenosukes are a smaller nib, and they don't come size, so I'm just using soft tip or hard tip because that's how they're labeled. But because that tip is smaller, it ends up being closer to the point size of your natural handwriting rather than working oversized with the dual brush. So hopefully that helps. So you can do lettering with the felt tip ones. I find that the Fudenosuke, when you're first learning, gives you a little bit more forgiveness, and so that's why that would be the pen that I would recommend to start off with. And they're easier to find because right now the dual brush pens are sold out in a lot of places because there's such high demand on them with letterers that are using them, and then for all the other different crafts too. But like I said, Fudenosuke is my go-to brush pen. It's definitely my favorite. So that has my big 2 thumbs stamp of approval. So I will see you guys later tomorrow. Where we'll talk about flourishes. I will be on again at 9:30. Yes, the packaging is all in Japanese and there's no understanding. I do not know Japanese. All I know is that the black barrel, or dark gray if you want to consider it that, is the soft tip, and the blue barrel is the hard tip. So you can see it's just a slight difference. You can see the difference better in person, but that's how I know them apart. Black is soft, blue is hard. But yeah, and they do come, the package also comes with this little flexible straight edge, and I use these all the time. So they're like all over my desk. Great bookmarks and rulers. So I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for sticking with that squirrely part, but I will put up a picture on Instagram, which I was supposed to do last week and I didn't get to. So I'm going to do that today since it's Thursday, and it'll give people time to be prepared for Monday. But remember, Monday you'll just need a pencil because we're going to do pencil first, and then we'll use the brush pen on Tuesday. So I will see you tomorrow if I don't see you tonight at the 9:30 session. Thanks so much for your time.